Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Making the Complex Simple. I'm your host, Morgan Whalen, and this is a podcast where I take you through my last week or so of business and I talk about the failures I make and the lessons that I learned. So hopefully you can get the takeaways without having to go through the scars yourself. So we're going to get into a few conversations today. We're going to talk about marketing, messaging, AI, and maybe some productivity hacks along the way too. So we got a lot of ground to cover. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is my marketing, because that's where I've been spending a lot of my time. And, as I continue to do like YouTube videos and I look at the short form content that does well and it doesn't do well, advertising all the way to VSLs, like I'm making a lot of content every single week. And so there's a lot of things that actually repeat over time. So, as you continue to make content, just be aware that in general, the more that you do, the better you're going to get. But when it comes specifically, I would say to advertising and VSL, really the things that I've been focusing on more this last week to 2 weeks, I've just found it super important to be simple, clear, and direct. And so don't try to get fancy with like what you want to explain or the insight that you want to share or whatever it may be. Like try to break it down as simply as possible so people can grasp it like instantly. Like if they have to like sit and think about it because you're throwing up a graph that has a lot of pictures or images or numbers and they're just like sitting there kind of confused, you're going to lose a lot of people. So you want to make sure that you are being as simple and clear as possible, and that usually is what works. And you know, I always go back to this, but if you ever are thinking of or running out of ideas of things to test, definitely look at other content creators, look at what other people are doing in the same space as you, in different spaces than you, right? You can go on, if you're doing ads, you can look at what other people are running for ads and see, okay, how are they starting their video visually? Are they using text? Are they starting with a blank screen? Is there something flying across the screen? Is it straight just them talking? Is it something with AI, right? Like what topics are they talking about? Are they using sound, right? So I think a lot of times at the beginning, we definitely want to be, doing something that is creative and unique to us. We want to make sure we're not being, overly saturated and taking other people's styles. But it definitely helps a lot to gain inspiration for like things that you may want to take or try out for yourself. So if you're ever struggling with content creation, ads, videos, or social media in general, I would definitely highly suggest looking at a couple other people. And there's so many resources out there now to help you. So you can look, at examples of hooks. You can look examples of carousels. You can go on and type on your, social media, whatever topics that you want to talk about, and look at what reels or visuals did perform well on those platforms. And then you can take that as inspiration, remix it to however you want to do it, and then let your people see it, right? Your audience and your followers, or the people that watch your content frequently. And so that will help you with learning what works and what doesn't work a lot quicker rather than just trying to do it all yourself. Like, I just want to talk about this. Well, okay, that's great. But there's technique, there's style, there's a lot of things that go into what makes a good piece of content, or, for ads, for people to take that next step with you. But overall, I think simple, clear, direct, no matter what you're doing across long form, short form ads, VSLs, all those things would be helpful for getting the desired action, whether that be a share, a like, view count go up, follower count go up, whatever it is. Hit the button, DM me, whatever. So that's something that I'm constantly trying to refine and trying to keep my message as simple as possible. And I talked about this in a previous episode, but like saying things that no one can refute, I think is really good too. But it's a mix of that and then challenging, I think, the status quo or the way that they've been doing things. When you get into advertising and wanting them to like work with you or take the next step towards you, you got to give them something new. You got to give them some type of insight on like what's going on or why they're not getting where they want to go as quickly as they want to, or why they're stuck, or why they're actually backpedaling, whatever it is. And so one of the things actually that I came across this week that has to do with messaging, that has to do with advertising, it was a case study, and I thought this was brilliant. So I wanted to share with everyone here. There was a case study done with KFC. So KFC in Australia, they had this really great promotional with their fries. They had $1 fries. And it did so well for so many years. They're like, oh man, this is amazing. $1 fries, let's keep it. But just like with any offer, the more that you have the offer, the more fatigued that offer will get over time. So they gradually saw sales declining year over year over year. So what they did was they hired this consulting company, Ogilvy is the name of the company, to go in and take a look. And they gave them some stipulations. They said, one, you can't touch the price; it has to be $1. And two, you can't change the product. It's the fries. The fries are the fries. You can't swap out the fries for something else for $1. And so they were stuck with, okay, we can't change the price, we can't change the product, but what else can we do to help drive more sales? And so then they started coming up with, how can we increase the value of these fries, right? And so then they ended up coming up, they were looking at the different behavioral and psychological triggers that will get people to take actions, right, in marketing. And they crafted 90 different headlines or titles on 5 key concepts that are well known in marketing if you've been around, and they're a lot of times linked to like different forms of values that we as humans have, like what we find valuable. And so one was loss aversion. So, hey, these $1 fries won't be around forever. So loss aversion was the first one that they tried. Um, Two, reciprocity. We want to give you free fries, but we'll meet you halfway at $1. So I love that. It's like, hey, we want to give it to you for free, but we can't quite do that. So, hey, we'll meet in the middle, right? Reciprocity. So can you meet us in the middle? Because we'll meet you in the middle. Again, these are all the headlines that they were testing because they just wanted to, can we increase sales with those two constants? The third one was value payoff. So it's only for pickup only, right? This deal is only for pickup only customers. The fourth one they tried was anchoring, which was a deal so good you can only buy 4. So they put like a limited amount and they anchored it. Hey, you can only get up to 4. So like this value is so good that most people will buy more than 4, but we're going to limit you to 4. And the last one, social norming. So the fifth angle that they were testing, which is everyone enjoys our $1 fries. Why not you? Okay. So 5 different key approaches that they were doing. And so they ran it to Facebook ads for weeks, and then they were testing the results, right? How many clicks did they get? How many people went over? And then, which one was getting the most engagement? Which one was getting the most sales? And so the winners out of 90 different headlines were really 2 that were around these 2 different anchor points or 2 different marketing tactics, which was 1, reciprocity. $1 fries will meet you halfway. And 2, anchoring. So only 4 people, or sorry, only 4 per person allowed. So that, just doing those 2 things increased the value, the perceived value of the offer of the $1 fries, and it actually increased sales by 56%. So if you're in your business and you're thinking about how can I increase the perceived value of what it is that I am offering so people are more willing to pay the price that I'm setting my good or my service at, think about these things. Think about in the way that you're communicating or framing your solution or your offer, because this obviously can increase the value of what you're selling by so much, 56%, without changing the price or the offer. That's insane. And overall, the anchoring message drove an 84% increase in the number of 4-pack purchases that there were. So that's insane. So overall, you want to keep in mind there's more to it than just the offer and just the price. And I wanted to share that with you just to give you an idea of, like, if you're writing copy or you have website pages and you have wanting people to buy, what pieces of value can you add on to that page? Those are just a couple that they gave. And so, in mine, I'm taking a piece of that and be trying it in mine, which is, hey, it's only limit 1 per person on this free thing that I'm giving away. Limit 1 per person makes it sound, oh, okay, or 1 per business, I should say. Makes it sound like there's, you can't do more than that. Like there's so much more demand than that. But in reality, there is only 1 that you can get. Now, this is actually true because I do limit it based off of like the email that they're using. I don't like people to go back through more than once and try to change their answers and get, more recommendations from what I'm offering because it is custom. So I'm like, okay, I do want to limit it to 1. So I stuck to something that was true, but it also then perceived the value, or the perceived value is now increased because now it's like, oh man, I only get 1 of these, right? It's almost like a limited time deal. Only 1 per person, right? As for the fries, only 4 per person. Second thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of more mindset, and this is more productivity too. One is, as you're building and, if you're going from, oh, hey, I started my business, I got my first few clients, mostly from referrals or my network or people that I know. And now you're at that part where you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I get to that next rung? When you start to build something that your business has never had before, uh, you want to think about it in a game of inches, and you want to find more ways to measure. So if you're going through and you're like, oh man, after 1 month, this didn't work, or after 2 months, it didn't work, and now you're frustrated and you feel like giving up. Just remember, it is a game of inches. So just think about it over, on a daily basis. Are we improving today? Are we improving today? Are we improving today? And it could be like a 1% increase. Like you when you first start, just look for anything, right? And I'm speaking from experience here. What ways can we measure to show yes, we're getting better, yes, we're moving in the right direction, yes, this is our new baseline, it's only up from here. Because that will help you get through the days where you feel discouraged, when you feel like giving up, when you feel like you're ramming your head against the wall because it's not where you want it to be and you don't feel like you're making the progress that you want to. So that's just mindset thing, right? How can I measure on a day by day basis that I'm making improvements? It's a game of inches, right? That's what they say in football. It's a game of inches. Even though you have to take 10 yards to get a first down, you think in inches. How can we move the ball forward just this play by a couple of inches, right? Get that momentum going, get that momentum going. The other thing, when you do run into these walls, which it's going to happen reoccurringly, more often than you think when you're building, one of the things that you really need to figure out how to do is handle your emotional states, right? You're going to get into these swings of, oh my gosh, we got this breakthrough. This is amazing, right? And you're going to you're going to feel the high. You're also going to feel the low, right? You're also going to feel like you're eating glass. You're also going to feel like you're slamming against the sides of a wall of a ravine and you're falling down and you can't see anything around you and it's just pitch dark. Okay? You're going to hit both of those on the entrepreneurial journey. Congratulations. And so I think just being able to handle the emotions both on the upside and both on the downside, if you know how to regulate or get back into the center, that will help you move forward faster, right? If you're so like down and out because the thing that you just worked on didn't get any results and it takes you 2, 3 days to get over it, well, the person who can, sit there for 10 minutes, have their, feel their feelings for 10 minutes and say, okay, now it's time to get back to it. Let's try the next round. They're going to be so much farther ahead than you given enough time frame. So you got to figure out what that is for you. And, you got to have some safety valves, some ways to be like, okay, how can I get back, regulate to center? That could be going for a walk. That could be taking a nap or a break. That could be, taking a bigger break if you want to go do like a gym session or a workout session, move your body, right? Jumping jacks could be like if you want to just do a short one or push-ups. I do a lot of physical ones for me to help break it. But you got to figure out ways to like get yourself out of the funk quicker. So then that way you can get back to like, okay, it's reset baseline. And I've talked about in previous podcasts too about not really worrying about the output as much or the results, but just worry about the input, right? So just tell yourself every day, hey, this is what I need to do on an input level or maybe like time on task level. And then whatever will be, right? But you got to figure out a way to continue to regulate your emotions because the people who can do that like consistently over month over month over month over month, that stacks up over a while. And you're like, okay, making progress, right? We're going back to the days and the inches, right? We're making progress every day. That's all I need to see. I don't know when the dam's going to break, but I know that we're building, we're building, we're building. And, obviously, if you're not seeing the progress, that's when you got to start making some bigger decisions. But if you're constantly learning, if you're constantly iterating to figure out what works for you, you're eventually going to find a path that works. And it may not be the exact path that you want, right? So you may have in your mind, oh, this is it. That may not be the case, right? It may be directionally right, but you may end up taking a different route than you thought. But you'll get there as long as you keep seeing progress and momentum. So just figure out ways for you to be able to handle that. Sometimes it's like a logical reframe in your mind, right? Of, hey, no worries. We weren't expecting anything out of this anyways. If someone viewed it, great. If not, no worries. We still push forward. So you can do logical reframes to try to get you out of your emotional wave that you feel or the lower level vibrational energy that you may be feeling. So again, figure out your ways to do that. And obviously, like if you are eating a healthy diet, walking or getting sunlight, resting and getting your 8 hours and doing all the standard things to help with your body and performance, that's going to go a long way too. And so the next thing that I wanted to talk about was AI. So I try to, every week at least get 30 minutes, an hour of, learning about what's new, what's happening, And some of the stuff doesn't really apply to me, right? Because it has to do a lot with coding, software. Like I'm not a software engineer. So a lot of that stuff doesn't apply to me. But there are things like around marketing where AI is helpful, around um, social media where AI could be helpful, around like what I do from a financial perspective that could be helpful. And so as I'm continuing to learn, I'm like, okay, how can I integrate these things into my processes more? And obviously, I want to give you the gems. And this week I did sit in on an hour and a half conversation where these content creators and people who are looking to integrate AI into their social media as a content creator or a business owner, they were looking for like how to use these software tools to do that. And so, I found a tool that I'm testing out right now where it takes, for example, like I make YouTube videos. I'll link my YouTube videos and then it'll bring it into this database. And then I can run it against a set of prompts that are known to take that data, the transcript of my YouTube video, and convert it into high performing text or visual prompts or visuals that I can then put into my social media and post it all within the app, right? So it takes a lot of work that you'd have to do before thinking out, okay, how do I want to frame this? How do I want to translate this into a social media post from a longer form content? So it could be like a blog, a newsletter, a YouTube video, whatever it is. And so it'll take that and it'll digest it into smaller chunks for you to then reuse. And so one of the things that I took away from that first call that I had, and there was about 80 people on there, was these two prompts from this person who built the app and uses AI every single day. And she is a beast at making content, right? She posts a lot of content. So two things she did, and I think you can pull this out and use this for your business specifically to get better outputs from AI is this. So number one, continue to like ask me questions until you're 95% sure that you can complete the task. Because a lot of times what you'll do is you'll give AI a task and say, hey, I want you to make me, these 3 bullets that summarize this article. Or, hey, I want you to make me a high performing Instagram post for this topic. And then if you just let it go, it'll write something. But if you first put that stipulation in there and say, hey, make sure you're at least 95% sure before you start performing the task. Then it'll ask like, oh, okay, well, you want to make this post. Who's it for? Who's your primary audience? What's the main message? What's the tone of voice you want to use? It'll start asking you like 4 or 5 other questions to give you a better output, right? And so that's the first one. So make sure you're at least 95% clear on what it is that I'm needing from you before you proceed. So if you have any questions, ask me, right? The second one, which is, again, these are two really, really strong AI prompts. If you're not using it, I highly recommend you use it. The second one is, perform this task as if you are a 0.1% expert in that field. So again, going back to like the social media post, hey, take this article, write 3 bullets, and then I want it, good for Instagram. Well, then if you say, hey, write it like you're a 0.1% or 0.1% expert as an Instagram social media writer, it's going to write it a little bit different. It's going to have a different standard to which it needs to write to. And then you can also specify, like if you have a certain creator you want it to sound like, you can specify that creator's name in there. Make it sound like you're, this person's name that is maybe well known, or you like their tone of voice, or you like the way that they do things, and it'll shift the tonality in the output again. So these prompts get you better output. And that's the whole goal when you're using AI to leverage to get you, to save you time, effort, and energy on whatever the task that you're wanting it to do. So if you implement those 2 things, I guarantee you're going to get better outputs, and it's probably going to save you a lot of time in the long run with having to rewrite things or use AI to bounce back and forth. Okay. And then, another thing that I found that was really interesting from that conversation, I had no idea, but AI is being used more and more in marketing. So think of people who are replicating themselves and then just having an AI image of themselves talk and speak. And so the AI learns their voice. It looks exactly like them. And, you give the AI the script and it just reads the script in your tone of voice. So I think the better that gets, the more it's going to be on social media, as long as it gets people to do the desired action. So if you're a content creator, it's getting more views, likes, follows. If you're a business owner, it's getting more leads and more customers. So as long as that happens, then I think AI will continue to expand on all the platforms on social media, YouTube. It'll just get more. And so far, the trends are that people are using AI more, and it's working from a business standpoint to drive more sales and more conversion. So as long as that holds true, I think more businesses will adopt this and you'll see a lot more of that type of content coming out onto these platforms. As soon as it reverts and people are like, okay, the market's oversaturated with AI. I just want a normal person. Then it's going to go back to people making it in front of the way that it is now more. So just know, as a consumer, you're the one who's driving the decisions. One thing that I found that was really really interesting was that recently, I guess, and I'd have to look up the article, but this is what I heard in the meeting that I was attending for AI was that there was an AI that actually outsold was like the best performing salesperson on TikTok Shop. So TikTok Shop, you can like live sell to people. You're streaming on your phone, you have the product in front of you. The AI was outselling people on a live stream for TikTok Shop, which is crazy. So, again, as long as AI is outperforming salespeople and or whatever the action is, then I think it's going to get more widely adopted. And again, judging by the way that things are right now, I don't see it going away anytime soon. So if you're not adopting AI in your strategy, I would highly suggest you start looking into figuring out how can we use this to, drive more results for our business. And the last thing that I noticed too is sometimes I'll go and I'll watch podcasts or videos, more in the tech field too. Again, going to AI to see like what are the macro trends for businesses, what industries, what sectors are going to be growing, where do the bigger people that sit at the top and control billions of dollars, where are they investing their money, and what are they thinking about? And it's pretty crazy. Like they showed a slide on the video I was watching and about the user growth of ChatGPT. And so ChatGPT is like 6 years ahead of like Google, Meta for the amount of growth and adoption that it has. It's like it's happening 6 years faster than those. And those were the fastest ever known, right? And so one, people are using ChatGPT. And two, you know, they're looking at monthly active users, weekly active users, daily active users, meaning how often are people interacting with ChatGPT on those basis, like once a month, once a week versus once a day. And they're also looking at, how much traffic or search traffic is now being redirected from Google, which was the main way that you would search for information until like 2, 3 years ago, into now ChatGPT. And so I think one, the main takeaways of this were overall search queries was going up across all the internet. So the total addressable market of search was going up. So then everyone benefits from that. Two, the amount of searches going through ChatGPT was astronomical. It's like, I think over 1 billion searches or something now, whereas Google has, man, I'm going to be misquoting the numbers, but multiple billions, I think like 20 billion or 21 billion searches. So as a comparison. Now, if that's already what ChatGPT is doing, billion searches, it's only going to get more, right? You see the adoption curve on the graphs that they show, and it's just straight up. And so I don't see it flattening anytime soon. So what does that mean? Well, if you're a business owner and you do Google PPC or paid per click, you may want to start looking into how can I start getting my thing, my offer, my service, my goods into ChatGPT like search results, because it's already happening. So you got to figure out, that's where the new kind of frontier is for search, where people are going to ask their questions. You got to be over there now, right? Skate to where the puck is going, not to where it is. So it's already a Google, is going to ChatGPT, it's going to these AI models. So you need to go over there. And so if you use that method to get customers, you definitely need to start building now over on OpenAI and ChatGPT, so then that you're ready for the next wave of search, which is going to be through pretty much AI models. And if you look at the youngest generation, Gen Alphas and into Gen Z as well, they search more on like social media. So think, on the search bar for Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, those types of apps, they're searching on the search bar. So that's also growing in search volume. And again, it's taking away from Google. So for me, over time, I still think Google's going to be there. It'll just slowly diminish over time until that gets replaced by Gemini, which is its own AI as the default search. And then you have ChatGPT, which is growing a huge amount. And then you have the up and coming searching with the newest generations, which is through, I think, AI and through social media apps. So I would say go to where the puck is going, not to where it is. And you want to start making your presence known. How do I show up in search results? when someone is searching in Instagram or in TikTok or wherever, because that generation, whatever they're doing now, is going to be the behavior as they get older. So once they get older, you already want to have your presence there and built um, to catch that next wave of business. So those are my takeaways. Those are the things that I've been thinking about. And as the quarter closes as well, Q2 is coming to an end. Um, I'd highly recommend, if you haven't taken the time yet, to sit down and think about your last quarter, this Q2. What were your goals? Did you hit it? Did you not hit it? And where did you fall short and why? And I would challenge you for Q3 to think of maybe, one thing that you think is the most important to focus your time, effort, and energy on. Because I think a lot of times we as business owners, especially when you're small and you're in the day to day and you're building the business, you could stay in the business a lot and you don't spend as much time looking up and out into the future about like, okay, what does the future look like? How can we build towards that? Where can I start looking ahead? And I think it's key to have both those hats on. Like until you have a whole team to where all you need to do is look ahead. But for now, when you're smaller, you need to be doing both, right? You need to be working day to day, making progress on the things that you feel like are the most important. And then at the same time, picking your head up every once in a while. And I think this is a great time to do it, to see what does the horizon look like? What does the next year look like? I wouldn't even look past like 2 years because of how fast everything changes. But what does the next year, 2 years look like for my industry? How can I start moving there right now? How can we take steps today to build towards the future rather than just worrying about today's problems? What's the future's problems? How are we going to get there? And so that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Again, as always, make sure you find something that you could take away from this episode and apply to your life. So what can you do? What can you apply to your business, your life that will then, make you get to your goals quicker or maybe save you some time? Like what was the key? What was the nugget? What was the takeaway? Because if all you do is just listen to it and that's it, you didn't really learn. Learning is when there's a change in behavior. So you listen to something, you absorb it, you understand it, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to change the way I do things now. And so that's what I challenge you to do. How can I change? Ask yourself, how can I change my behavior based on what I just learned today? So thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next.